it said that I must bow so low. Only a cat of a different coat, that's all the truth I know. In a coat of gold, a coat of red, a lion still has claws, and mine are long and sharp, my lord, as long and sharp as yours. So he spoke, and so he spoke, that Lord of Castamere. But now the rains we bore his hall, with no one there to hear. Yes, now the rains we bore his hall, with not a soul to hear.
Hello folks, and welcome to episode 5 of the Godless Smegcast. Yes, we're 5 episodes in already. Time's flown. It's been a hell of a ride doing these past 5 episodes, but I've enjoyed every second of it, as I hope you guys have. Okay, we've got a great guest coming on today, Crystal Contempt. She's back from the other week. She was on with Lady Satan, if you remember, but we didn't get to hear too much of the chat. So, Lady Satan at the moment is holidaying in Cuba. Fetch me back a Cuban cigar, please, Lady Satan. Thank you. And Crystal will be joining us in a moment. Just want to acknowledge last week's guest, John Bullock, who goes by the Twitter handle of Begree. Really good bloke. Been engaging with him over the past week as well, and hope to have him back on with his pal Zoe Jen very soon. But before we actually go into Crystal Contempt today, I just want to address something. The Smegcast is usually quite a light-hearted show. I like to think so anyway, but I do want to address something, rather serious just at the moment. Over the last week, I witnessed something incredible. Adam Reeks has managed to raise over $10,000 for Iman, who you can follow at One Godless Woman, number 1 Godless Woman. I don't really want to go too much into what happened to Iman on this podcast. If you want some background on that, please go to herdmentalitypodcast.com and download episode 10, where Adam talks to Iman at length about what she went through. She is fighting to bring her abuser to court, and she didn't have the money to do so, but Twitter atheists over 2 days managed to raise over $10,000 for her. Whilst I'm absolutely staggered at the amount that people actually got together to raise, the fact that they got together to raise it did not surprise me, because they did it for me. It's a year ago today that, for those of you who have only just started following me, or have started following me over the past 6 months or so, a year ago today, a memory came back into my head that I must have blocked out when I was a kid, of being abused by a teacher at my school. I went nuts, tried to kill myself, said and did very stupid things, and because I was broke and I didn't have a job at the time, Twitter atheists and Twitter Red Dwarf fans and my followers basically came together, raised some money for me, and able to pay my bills for that month and towards the next month, and raised some money for myself and my partner, which I was absolutely overwhelmed at. None of them wanted the money back, which I found absolutely incredulous, but none of my Twitter friends wanted the money back, and I was absolutely gobsmacked that they would come together and do something like that for me. So that's why I wasn't surprised when it happened for Iman. So just on this show, first of all, to Adam Reeks and to everybody who donated to Iman, thank you very, very much. Obviously I'm not trying to speak for Iman, but as somebody who has been through similar, you've really given her some hope, and you've given her something to shoot for. So I couldn't be more proud to be a member of the Twitter atheist community as I am today. But for myself, I'm actually doing better. I've used the year intervening not to let myself become a victim, but to move forward and try and incorporate what happened to me in my life and try and become a better person because of it, not in spite of it. And if anybody who is listening to this has been through any similar experiences in they don't want to talk about it. It is good to talk about it. So there's always somebody on Twitter. I'm always around. Please do talk to somebody if you're feeling low or if you feel as though you're getting to the point of no return. Which leads me nicely onto my guest today, Crystal Contempt. She was in a similar situation before Christmas. A bunch of us banded together and we raised over $1,000 for her. She was very, very financially strapped. Her daughter Katie needed new glasses. The bills weren't being paid. The rent wasn't being paid. They just had no money coming in, and we helped her. So, we're very, very proud to do so. I know how thankful she was that so many people came together and helped her. But she's my guest today, and if you were listening a few weeks back and you heard her, you'll hear that she doesn't hold back in her opinions. She just lets rip. We talked about Red Dwarf. We talked about what it means to be an atheist. We talked various TV shows like Game of Thrones, but we also filled in the gaps of what we were talking about Atheism Plus a few weeks ago. So I hope you enjoy Crystal Contempt's chat with me today. I have edited some stuff out because we ended up chatting for nearly 2 hours, but you have got a feature-length episode of the Smegcast today, and I hope you find Crystal as fascinating as I did listening to her and chatting to her. So please leave me some feedback. I'm at Godless Smeghead on Twitter. You can find the Smegcast page at godlesssmegcast.wordpress.com, or you can email me at godlesssmeghead@hotmail.co.uk. Okay, thank you very much for listening to me babble for 6 minutes. Without further ado, I give you my friend and someone who I'm proud to call my friend, Crystal Contempt. Enjoy. She was my guest a couple of weeks ago. I think she was on episode 2, isn't that right, Crystal? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we only had the chance. Well, we chatted for ages, but the recorder didn't record it, and we only got maybe about 16, 17 minutes worth of footage. So Lady Satan, I think at the moment, is on holiday in Cuba, so I've asked Crystal Contempt to come back, face my 20 questions, and maybe we'll just chat a little bit more about other subjects like Game of Thrones. How are you, Crystal?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine. Been working today, but, come home. Been looking forward to this for a while. What have you been up to since my listeners last heard you?
Just the usual stuff. Eating babies, being in cahoots with Satan, all that.
Yeah, just the usual everyday stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, burning Christians at the stake and stuff like that. Crucifying them.
Yep.
Yep, well-hung Christians.
Is that a thing? I think that might be an oxymoron.
Probably, yeah. Christians are Christians. You have come back to face my 20 questions. Now, presumably, you've listened to the other ones and you probably know what the questions are going to be.
Yes, but I have a very short memory.
Right.
So
Just for the purposes, would you like to answer questions on Red Dwarf or atheism, or do you want me to just pick and choose from the two?
I'm letting it be your choice. Surprise me, my friend.
Well, I'll surprise you with the first question, which is a Red Dwarf question. Which of the cast members would you take home and shag? No. No,
Chris
go on,
Barry.
answer that question.
Barry.
Chris Barry, definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, why?
Because, if we're talking characters and not actors, I think Rimmer needs it the most. So I would toss it to him. Sympathy lay.
Now,
It's cute, though, too.
You probably don't know a TV show called Spitting Image.
No.
Right. Spitting Image was an 80s show, and it was rubber and latex puppets of various politicians, celebrities, etc. And Chris Barry used to do the voice of Ronald Reagan. So if you imagine you take him home and shag him, what if he starts whispering sweet nothings to you in Ronald Reagan's voice?
I think I would just lay back and accept it.
He'd be like, "Oh, Crystal, do it to me, baby."
It would be disturbing, but I've done weirder things, so.
Yeah. But Rimmer has got flared nostrils.
So do I. No.
He might knock you out with his nostrils or his H.
You know what? I think maybe we'll do it from the back then. I don't know. We can make it work.
Yeah, probably. Right. I want to know how and when you first discovered Red Dwarf.
My husband actually loves it. He's been a Smeghead for quite some time. He's seen the whole series, like, multiple times. He would go to his friend's house and, like, watch it and disappear for hours and be like, what were you doing? Be like, oh, just watching Red Dwarf. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is this? I need to know. So then I found out, and I've been hooked.
Did you know that Bill Clinton is a fan of Red Dwarf? So's Madonna.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Hmm.
I'm just picturing fucking Big Willie getting head watching Red Dwarf. That's amazing.
Yeah, cigars.
Yep.
Yeah. So how did he discover it?
I have no idea. No idea. Just one of those things, like, oh, I'm just gonna go to my friend's house and watch this, and I'm just like, make it a part of my life.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I think, cause his friend Dave is a little bit older, so I think he was like, you know, actively watching it when it was, you know, first on, so.
You see, you know, it's pretty big here. Most people have heard of it here. Well, most people over a certain age will have heard of it here. But in America, it's got a very small cult following.
Don't worry, I got some friends watching it now. I made playing D&D tonight with my friend Liz, and she is now a Smeghead, thanks to me.
Fantastic. The more Americans we can get into it, the better, because...
Yeah, she's like a 25-year-old blonde girl, too. It's perfect. I'm recruiting the hotties.
This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this Smegcast, is to actually introduce Red Dwarf to new people, because not just in America, but in Australia. I mean, I know they probably show it in Australia, but in other countries, in Spain, in South Africa, in Germany, if you don't show it there, you know. That's part of the reason. It is on Netflix, all 8 series. At least it is over here in the UK. Is it all 8 series in US? Or
yeah, I think it's 8, but I have the other 2 also. So anytime I want.
Which leads me to my next question. What was your opinion of Back to Earth and Series X? Back to Earth first.
It wasn't my favorite, but you know, it definitely had redeeming qualities. I love the Starbug car, is hysterical, and I want one.
Mm.
It's adorable. It was just, I mean, it's nice that they got to do more, and I was like excited that, oh, there's another one, like, let me see it, you know, but, you know, it definitely had some funny parts, but it wasn't my favorite. It was just kind of bizarre, like, it wasn't the right format, and, it wasn't what you're expecting and what you're kind of wanting when you go to watch it. Did you like the Blade Runner aspect of it? Well, I know that a lot of people say it's blasphemy, and I know you feel this way too, but Blade Runner's not my favorite.
Mine either, but, you know, what can we say? Not everybody likes everything. I thought the Blade Runner visuals were very well done, and I got the references.
Right.
I thought it was very well made. It's just... I don't know about you, it was 11 years, and I kind of thought to myself, this is what they came up with after 11 years.
Right, know. Exactly.
Wasn't up to snuff. Okay, Series X.
Better. Return to original format a bit. You know, there were some things like Holly and other things that I'm just like, you know, what's going on here? But, funny. Everybody was on their game. It's interesting to see them older. You know, in 9 and 10 or X, you know, whatever. But, you know, they were on their game. They still know what they're doing. There was still a lot of funny banter and gags back and forth, the vending machines and the love triangle, hysterical.
I mean, the first episode, Trojan, is just so funny because, I mean, I've heard people complain about Trojan because it messes around a lot with Rimmer's past, as indeed does the beginning, which is the last episode, Series X. But Trojan is just I just find Trojan hilarious. Fathers and Sons, which was the next one, I've got to say, the bit that makes me cry with laughter in that is when Lister is talking to himself on the video, and he falls over one way and then gets back up and falls the other way.
Very funny.
Yeah. But I've got to say, I mean, I don't think we actually talked about this the last time we spoke on the podcast, but my favourite one is Lemons, the one with Jesus.
Yes, that's hysterical.
By far. And to be perfectly honest with you, this is something, you've just reminded me of something with regards to Series X. A lot of people, after Series 7 and 8, and certainly Back to Earth, thought that Doug Naylor needed Rob Grant in order to write successful Red Dwarf, and I think with Series X, it kind of proved that theory wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it can never hurt to get that other perspective in there, but I think that he pulled it off, and it was successful, and it was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of why the Series X got back to what I loved about Red Dwarf. It was still very, very shiny and very polishy, but it was done in the studio, and there was the studio audience there, and you could tell that they had fun feeding off the audience and feeding off each other. That's why I love Series X, the dynamic about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I just feel bad for you guys that we got to see it, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of you.
That's the same thing for all of this. They always have shit over there before it comes here.
Yeah.
Like Sherlock. I had to wait an extra 2 weeks to watch Sherlock.
Oh yeah, those were good, weren't they? The Sherlocks at Christmas.
Did the last one air over there yet? Because I haven't seen the last one yet.
Yeah, it did. It aired a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. See, it's on Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
So, no spoilers.
No, but it's very, very good. The end is a bit of a what the fuck moment. But then again, the end of Series 2, and I think Series 1 was a what the fuck moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So, right, okay. Norman Lovett or Hattie Hayridge as Holly, and why?
Can I just say none of the above and go for Queeg?
Why not? Why not? Queeg was your favourite.
Just that whole dynamic was hysterical.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'd have to go for Norman Lovett. He's just perfect. I think it's he's just got that deadpan delivery down. It's amazing.
Hattie, I don't think, tried to emulate Norman in any way, but her style of comedy, or certainly her style of doing Holly, was very similar to Norman's. So she was essentially playing Norman, but a female Norman.
It was almost more like whimsical. I don't know if that's the right word, but almost like she was making fun of them and kind of knew how stupid they were. Where with Norman's, he was just as stupid as they were.
Yeah, he was just absolutely thick as two short planks. I'd like to see one of them back again. I mean, Norman did come back for end of Series 7 and the whole of Series 8.
Right.
But I'd like to see them bring Hattie back. She'll be a bit older, but I still think that she deserves a chance to come back for one last hurrah. And Series 11, I think, is being written as we speak. So, Doug, if you're listening, good luck with that. We all wait for it on tenterhooks.
I have a funny story. I know that I already shared it with you, but I didn't share it with the world it's actually Red Dwarf related too. My youngest is 5.5, and my husband was outside the other day. He was outside smoking a cigarette or something. And I opened the door to the porch and I'm talking to him, saying something. And Katie's inside and she's going, "It's cold outside. It's cold outside." And I can't hear her because I got my head sticking out the door. But she wanted me to close the door, obviously. So I come in, I close the door, and I'm like, "What did you say?" And she goes, "It's cold outside." And I was on the floor in stitches. Obviously, I'm not getting the message across, so I'm going to sing it to you, you daft. And it was just so funny. And, the things I've never actively tried to watch the show, with the kids, really. I mean, I don't think, the younger ones would really get the humor. But, the things that they just, pick up on, and it was hysterical. It was, could have been better timing.
Yeah. I remember laughing heartily when you told me that. Both Sharon and I, actually, we read that and we just burst into laughter because we could imagine her doing it,
She's 5. It's funny.
Okay. You as an atheist now. I didn't send you the Dawkins scale on Twitter, did I? But you probably know where you are on that, don't you?
I do.
Where are you?
I would love to say that I'm a 7, but, like most other people, I gotta stick myself in the 6-point-something range because I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know. I don't think anybody should be arrogant enough to say that they know for a fact either way. But, yeah, it's just, that's really what it is. It's just, you think that you can possess knowledge that even if it existed, even if there was some way for us to measure or calculate it, we're not intelligent enough to be able to understand and know those things.
I'd say you were a 6.9. From knowing you the way I know you, and, got to know each other, I'd probably put you at 6.9. I'd say you like me, you've got like 0.0001% of a doubt.
Yeah, I'm open-minded, I should say. It's not that I have doubts, I'm just open-minded about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, change my mind, I dare you.
We were on, last week I'm just going to give this a bit of a plug now, I recorded with Adam Reeks, and Shaper079 on Twitter. I recorded a podcast with them about what it would take to believe, and we used Q from Star Trek as an example.
Yeah. That would be a good one.
I would rather believe in Q than God, to be honest, because Q at least has got a sense of humour, and Q has got a semblance of a conscience.
Even then, though, I feel like, you just turned up and did things. Well, we can beam people up, so maybe you just have better technology than me. Yeah. I would still be skeptical, even with Q. Well, at least you can look him in the face and say, prove it.
Yeah. And he'd be like, I'm here.
Right.
This is proof enough. On this podcast, I put forth my belief that the Q Continuum aren't gods. They're just alien life forms that are magicians, that can perform tricks and do anything they want to do, but they're not gods. I don't think they're omnipotent, because if you look at various episodes of The Next Generation where Q appears, he actually asks Picard or Riker or whoever to recap some things that they've done, so he can't really be omnipotent.
Well, either that or he has a really short memory. Marijuana affects the memory. Of course, they're advanced enough to have it legalized there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here's a question for you. And this is one I've not asked any of my other guests, so you're the guinea pig for this one, so to speak. Which Twitter atheists are your favourites, and why? Oh,
no. Now I have to think. I wasn't ready to think. It's only 9:30. Let's see. I love my friend Tam. Punchy Love. He's hysterical.
Oh, I've seen him, yeah.
Yeah, and he's good looking, which doesn't hurt. But he's very funny, and he really gives him hell. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So he's one of my favorites. Obviously you.
Duh. No, not including me.
Well, I am. I think you should be included.
Well, thank you.
Man, I really like Take That, Darwin. That's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can't get enough of that. So that is like daily entertainment, just engaging with them. Sometimes it's too much. You're like, really? Do all of you exist? Like,
have you? Do you follow Secular Lawyer?
Yes.
His daily battles are always very, very amusing.
That's true.
A Scotsman Abroad is also absolutely hilarious. But the thing with A Scotsman Abroad is, he tweets Scottish, and you read it in a Scottish accent.
Perfect.
And he always calls me Big Man, which I think is hysterical, because I am a big lad, as you know, in more ways than one, but there we go.
Wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. Okay, Atheism Plus. Now, we only got a little bit of this when you were on last week. A couple of weeks ago. So, for those who are unaware of Atheism Plus, and there are people out there, it started out as a movement of atheists who were anti-homophobia, pro-social justice, pro-LGBT, just had very, very good intentions. But unfortunately, they were hijacked by a bunch of radical feminists. They launched the Atheism Plus Forum, which we talked about a little bit last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
And anybody who wanted to join the Atheism Plus Forum, or who had questions or any sort of opinion, were shouted down and told to check their privilege. Now, a byproduct of Atheism Plus was something called the Blockbot, run by a complete stool and a complete tool and a complete knobhead called Oolon. And what it basically does, it's a piece of script that incorporates into your browser, and it automatically blocks everybody on that list on Twitter from your account. I don't know of one single religious person on there, do you, Crystal?
Nope.
No, I don't think there are any. They are all atheists, and it is atheists who run and administrate the bot. We touched very briefly on a couple of them. One of them was Oolon, whose one claim to fame is a very, very short appearance on Newsnight, and he proceeded to call us all trolls. Now, there are people on that list who don't deserve to be on the list because they've not indulged in any troll behaviour, they've just criticised the Blockbot. And I believe you are not on that list.
Really?
You're not on there. I checked.
Does that mean that every time I troll them, they'll still see it?
I would imagine so.
That's shocking to me with the amount of times I've engaged with them. Maybe they just have a crush on me.
Maybe they do. I mean, I'm on level 2 now. I was on level 3. But
Moving on up.
After the episode with Jordan and Sue, episode 1, they moved me up to level 2, and I think they put Jordan and Sue on there as well, just because they appeared... No, it was because of a tweet that Jordan sent to Vita Brevi about what was she wearing. And I think they were added to it as well. No, okay, so we were talking about Vita Brevi, and unfortunately the recorder stopped. So, if you could be so kind as to recap just what your problem is with this, I won't call her a lady, but this person.
She's a humorless cunt. That's the short version. The
pretty
long
accurate
version.
as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's really... End the podcast, that's it. That's all you need to know. No, she engages everyone. She literally spends her entire day, her entire life, just screen capping pictures of people saying things that may or may not be offensive to just her in particular, and broadcasting it out and trying to get everybody blocked and put everybody on the internet with like a bad name because she can't handle reality and she's like a crazy, like, ultra feminist, like radical feminist. Like, I'm sorry, but if I make a joke to you of a guy in a costume that looks like a sanitary napkin and I tell you to calm your period, like, that doesn't make me not a feminist.
No, I know.
She looks like Bette Midler, in case that got cut out of the other one. It's hysterical.
Yes. And I believe that both of us have made memes reflecting and referring to that fact.
Oh, my favorite one was her old profile picture there. I took it and I like zoomed it in and in and in on her cleavage. Cause she's like, oh, everybody's degrading women. So sure. You're gonna accuse me of something I'm not doing? I might as well do it.
I mean, the thing about Vita Brevi was she was actually following me literally months after I'd been added to this block bot, and she was still following me. And I think I engaged with her a couple of times. She certainly wasn't that memorable, apart from the fact is I used to see her on... Because I was following her back, but I used to see her on my timeline just going off on one about bullshit, about how badly done to she was and what a victim she was. And after a while I tuned out her tweets, and then I engaged with Oolon one day, and Oolon and I kind of went into it, and I got a tweet from her saying, what are you doing, dissing my friend Oolon, Smeg? And I'm like, oh, he's your friend? Oh, right, that makes sense. And she accused me of throwing away our friendship. To me, we never had a friendship. That's
delusional. She's delusional.
Which really, really amused me. And then the insults started flying, thick and fast. And I came to see that this was one atheist, and I use it in quotes, who really doesn't grasp one of the true meanings of atheism, and that is we have one life, live it to the best of your ability. And do the things you've always wanted to do if you can.
Apparently the things she always wanted to do is sit around whining on the internet and telling other people to check their privilege, when her privilege is that she gets to sit around whining on the internet all day.
Yeah.
Like, you're a white American female, middle class, yes, sitting on presumably your expensive piece of equipment all day, just bitching to other people to check their privilege. Seriously? Really?
I mean, without delving back into this, I've had some issues. I had some issues last year. I'm not a victim because of those. I don't see myself as a victim. I've just basically incorporated that into my life and tried to move forward. These people don't. They just stay in the same place and moan about how badly done to they are and what victims they are, when the purpose of life is to keep moving forward and keep trying to be a better person.
Right.
And I hate to sound preachy there, but, I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's what most of the atheists that I engage with on Twitter, that's their outlook on life. And they certainly don't cause big divisions in the atheism community.
Yeah, it's really absurd. They're putting a divide and a conflict where there really didn't need to be one. And there's a lot of people who have questions that want to reach out and just learn more, and instead they're being met with this, and it's just really, it's setting us back, and it's having other people, and that's what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about, I don't care if she wants to engage with me. It's the other people watching that are going to get a bad impression of the entire community based on their fuckwittery.
Yeah, and their Dalek-like tweets whenever they add someone to the bot, which, like I say, I always read in a Dalek voice because that's exactly how they read.
It's perfect.
I mean, I know that we're giving them attention on this podcast, but I think it's necessary for people who aren't aware of what's going on to know that there are these so-called atheists in the community who are really trying to, piss in the punch bowl.
Right. I think they're taking a big wet dump in the punch bowl.
Yeah. I mean, their original goals I have no problem with. I don't think there's an atheist on Twitter, or certainly that I know on Twitter, that doesn't disagree with them on their original goals. But they just went around it in such a ham-fisted way, and they just completely cocked it all up.
Yeah.
I mean, they had an advocate, they had a great advocate to start with in Matt Dillahunty. And the people on the forums soon turned him off. They banned him for asking a question.
That's hilarious.
Which is just absolutely ridiculous. But unfortunately, it's, if you'll pardon the religious analogy, it's a cross we have to bear at the moment. I think it will fizzle out. Certainly, I would rather listen to someone like Richard Dawkins talk about, his theory of evolution, watch him answer theist questions, than hear about Rebecca Watson being uncomfortable with a gentleman in an elevator.
Right.
I know which one is more productive. I know which one will enrich my mind more. But this is what I mean, the whole victim complex.
Yeah, they're not victimized. They're not victimized. That's the biggest point, is they're telling people to check their privilege. They're privileged. They're running around acting like victims. They're actually victimizing more people and alienating more people.
Well, if it wasn't for the fact that they were trying to set themselves up as a new movement or a new club, I might have actually, been interested in engaging with them based on their original goals. But with the way that it's been completely, I mean, it's just a fail. The whole thing is just an epic fail.
It's a joke.
And they've just come out with egg on their faces. So yeah, I'm totally with you. And with regards to Visa Brevi, I mean, I don't want to really insult the way she looks, but she's not a very nice person. And like I said, I think on the last podcast, I've looked down a timeline and I cannot see one tweet that benefits anybody but herself. It's all about her.
I cannot even see how those benefit her, to be honest.
No.
It really seems like a waste. Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're a relatively young person with no apparent disabilities. Why are you sitting on the internet all day? Like, I know we all, check our phone and we tweet, but, really, seriously, you post, 300 pictures a day of screen caps. What are you doing with yourself?
You see, that's the reason why I've been looking forward to having you back on here. One, because you make me laugh, and two, you just don't mince your words, do you?
No.
No. But to tell you the truth, I do believe she probably will have, a huge size vibrator.
Well, I mean, if she's gonna be fucking around with technology all day, like, she might as well pleasure herself and fuck off and leave the rest of us alone.
Somehow I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, she likes the attention too much.
I'm gonna Google the shit out of her and see if I can find her address. I'm sending you something to fuck yourself with, sweetie.
A big clockwork orange size giant dildo.
I'm just gonna make a mold of myself giving the middle finger. Just mold that motherfucker and send it right to her.
Why not? In ice? No,
yeah, I'm gonna... That would be perfect. It'd get all stuck to the insides, terrible. Tragedy. Sounds perfect.
While you're doing that, while you're Googling the shit out of Julia, and while you're contemplating sending your middle digit to her, which might not fit, but there you go, I'm going to ask you what your favourite song is and why. And I know we talked about this yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to listen to it, so...
Well, that's not my favorite song.
Right.
I thought you should listen to the song Judith by A Perfect Circle.
I looked at the lyrics, and I totally agree with them.
Yeah, it's basically the guy from Perfect Circle, Maynard James Keenan. He's also the guy from Tool, and he has a couple other projects as well. But I think that song was about his mother. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody on the internet. But I think that song was about his mother, and basically, that she had like a lot of health issues, and he's basically saying to her in the song, like, why are you praying if you're religious? Then the person that you're praying to is the one that did this to you. Yeah. And all of this is made up bullshit, and you should probably shut up about it. And that's basically the message of the song. So I think it's great. For atheists, I think would appreciate that song. I don't really have a favorite song in particular. So I have a couple of favorite albums. Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, is amazing. Just the whole message of the whole album, and like the song, I think it's the song Time, is just genius. And it just really, you feel what they're trying to convey. You feel, this is it. Like, that's what it is. 10 years are gone now. What the hell happened? I missed the starting gun. Like, it's just, it's amazing. The whole album is just so well put together. Best album ever made, in my opinion, and probably most other people's opinion as well.
Disagree, but that's okay. Go on.
I don't know a single person that doesn't like Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, I love it. I just don't think it's the greatest album.
I think it's pretty good. Keane, both of their first albums, Hopes and Fears and Under the Iron Sea, every song is just a beautiful, wonderful trip through the happiest and saddest parts of my brain. So I really appreciate those too. And I was always a really big Nirvana fan. I think my favorite Nirvana song is Drain You. So that would probably be one of my favorites.
I knew there was a reason I like you, because that's one of my favorite Nirvana songs. I love Nirvana.
There's not really a reason why. It's just like certain things like strike a chord with you, and I
saw them twice.
I'm so jealous of you.
Yeah. I saw them in '89 when they were a 4-piece, and I saw them in '92 Reading Festival. And the Reading Festival one, it's the one where he came out in the long blonde wig and the hospital smock. Yes. And
with the oranges in his bra.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
perfect.
Basically, the Chris Novoselic was on the mic, and he was basically saying, he's taken a lot for him to be here, and he's going to make it, because the story was he just got out of hospital after a drug overdose. But he just gave. I mean, they even played a great version of Smells Like Teen Spirit that day, and that was a song that they got tired of playing, and Kurt didn't want to perform, but he did it that day. It was wonderful. But yeah, with you, huge Nirvana fan, and Drain You's a great song.
I love it.
What's your favourite Nirvana album? Would it be Bleach, Nevermind, Incesticide?
Actually, none of the above. I really like In Utero. Yeah. I mean, I love all of them for different reasons, different moods, but I feel like that's the thing. Like, In Utero, I can listen to anytime. But like Incesticide, I have to kind of be in the mood for that. Same thing with Bleach. Nevermind can kind of go either way, but it's like those songs are overplayed on the radio too, so
Yeah.
it's like I don't feel like listening to the album as much because I just fucking heard it.
I mean, you know, Bleach, I don't hear songs like Blue or Floyd the Barber or, I mean, you hear About a Girl all the time. I mean, that's a great song, About a Girl.
Yeah, I hear the live version a lot from the Unplugged.
Yeah. But I still prefer the version of Bleach.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know which version I prefer of All Apologies. The studio version or the unplugged version. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
They're both so good.
All the cover songs they did in Unplugged are amazing. And I just love the fact that, you know, at the time they were like the most influential band. And I mean, they still are one of the most influential bands for like newer rock music. But they could have had anybody on that fucking show with them, and they wanted the Meat Puppets. And that's awesome. And they brought the Meat Puppets mainstream. Like a lot of people who only liked pop music and mainstream music that of course knew about Nirvana, but otherwise wouldn't have known about bands like the Meat Puppets. Suddenly they were buying their albums and going to their shows, and they still survive. I saw the Meat Puppets like 3 months ago, played in Boston, and I saw them because they're still a thing. And I think a lot of that has to do with that appreciation and respect that the biggest band in the world said, no, we want to play these songs and we want them to come play them with us.
I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of the Meat Puppets. I have heard, obviously, you know, Lake of Fire, Plateau. I've heard the originals of those, but I've not heard much more. That's something that's actually been on my list for a while.
Yeah, just that whole album, Too High to Die, that's really... Just listen to that. You'll get your feet wet. I mean, if you still like it, you can kind of explore the other ones. But that's the big one, Too High to Die. I think the cover, they're all in dresses or something on the cover of the album. It's pretty fun.
I don't know if you know, but I'm also a huge Beatles fan. Nirvana are my second favorite group. The Beatles are my first.
Well, nobody's debating that. The Beatles. Okay, I just want to throw it out there. Okay, I love Pink Floyd. I love Nirvana. I think The Dark Side of the Moon is the best album. But the Beatles are obviously the best band of all time.
No argument there.
I don't think that would go contested.
No. I mean, John Lennon's my hero. Has been. I mean, I was absolutely gutted when he was shot, because I was around. I was like 11 years old when he was shot, and I was absolutely gutted, and nobody really understood why. But I grew up listening to John Lennon. My mum and dad weren't particular fans. I discovered the Beatles and his solo stuff on my own, like growing up from like 7 years old. And then when he was shot, I was just devastated. The point I was going to make was Paul McCartney has recorded a song with all three members of Nirvana, including Pat Smear. Yeah,
won a Grammy.
Yeah, won a Grammy. Now, I didn't know that until the other day when the Grammys were on, and I totally have to listen to it.
Oh, it's great. And people have been calling the group, quote unquote, Sirvana.
Sirvana, yeah, I can see
and
that.
And that's fucking hysterical. But yes, another side note about John Lennon. I don't know if you knew this, audience. But when they were recording their albums, Kurt Cobain did not want to layer his vocal tracks because he wanted it to sound more authentic, like how they would sound live. And they actually convinced him to layer his vocal tracks based on the fact that John Lennon layered his vocal tracks.
Yeah.
So
he did
it's just amazing how all these people really influence each other.
Kurt, I mean, you and I could talk about Kurt Cobain forever because we're both huge Nirvana fans. We both have the same book collection when it comes to Nirvana. Do you have Godspeed, the comic book?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got Godspeed as well. Yep. Yeah. I mean, we could do this forever.
We could.
And we probably will on another podcast, yeah.
A separate one.
We probably will. Okay, look, let's move on. Next question. What's your ideal job?
My ideal job is no job at all.
Yeah.
Does blowjob count?
I suppose no, not in this instance.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just like making things. I want to have like an Etsy shop or something. I just want to make things because I can't focus on one thing. I've professionally done like 4 different things in my, relatively short careers. But yeah, I can't focus on any one thing. I want to make costumes. I want to build things. I want to make art, and I just can't settle on any one thing. So I think maybe a little bit of everything would be ideal for me, and just kind of freelance and do what I want. But unfortunately right now I need a steady paycheck because I have lots of children. But in the meantime, I'll do what I'm doing, and which right now is photography. I'm working in a photo studio and occasionally doing freelance stuff with that. But yeah, I just want to make stuff.
Okay, next one, Crystal.
Yes.
Is a question with three sub-questions. You only have to answer one of them. Okay, now these are pretty tough. Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, Star Wars or Star Trek, or rather, John McClane or Jack Bauer?
Can I just say all of the above?
No, you've got to pick one.
Oh, no. Well, I have to pick Lord of the Rings.
Right, Lord of the Rings.
But that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate Harry Potter, because I am younger. I'm 28, so I was a teenager when those books came out, or, the movies came out, whatever, both. So I do appreciate it. My children love it. I have a stack of Harry Potter wands in my house, but Lord of the Rings all the way. All the way.
Okay.
Star Wars versus Star Trek. This is so hard.
You knew I was going to ask you that one because it was on the last one.
I know. I can't. I love both of them. I think that I would have to go for Star Wars, but just by a very small margin. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the toys and costumes and video games. Like, there's just more access to Star Wars related things. It's just more marketable, I guess, so...
I disagree. There's far more Star Trek material to actually watch than... Lucas has got the corner on the market. I know what you mean about merchandise and the...
There's a lot of Star Trek that wasn't awesome. I mean, I know there's some Star Wars that wasn't awesome. Nobody's talking about Phantom Menace.
Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith.
We all know, in terms of if you had to put next gen up against all of Star Wars, I might go next gen. But if we're talking all of Star Trek versus original trilogy, I'm going for Star Wars.
Right, fair enough. Because John last week said Star Trek, so it's 1-1. Star Wars 1, Star Trek 1 so far. I might keep a running total of these, actually.
You should.
I think I should as well. So, Lord of the Rings, we've got 1, Star Wars, we've got 1, and Star Trek, we've got 1. Okay, just out of interest, John McClane or Jack Bauer?
See, I don't want to answer this question because I haven't actually watched most of 24.
Right.
And my husband will hate me for it. He always gets mad. He wants me to watch the whole thing, but I feel like I would have to watch it in a row because I've only seen a little bit here and there, and it is really gripping, and that's why I'm like, do I really want to sacrifice 8 days of my life in a row without any sleep?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm afraid to watch it all, so I'm gonna have to go the other way with that one.
Right. First of all, do watch it all, but take your time. Don't binge it. Because it can kind of all bleed into one, and someone will say to you, "Oh, do you remember what in season 4 when this happened?" And you'll be like, "Was that season 4?" So don't binge it. Just watch an episode a night or every couple of nights, and you'll be okay. I would go for Jack over John McClane for the simple reason is the last 2 Die Hard films were absolutely bloody abysmal.
I didn't see the very last one, so I don't know. But Bruce Willis. Right here. I don't know if you saw that sketch, so I'm referencing a sketch you don't know. But Bruce Willis is my shit.
Die Hard 4 and 5 were just abysmal. You're probably better off not seeing Die Hard 5, to be honest.
Noted.
But 2 was okay, but 1 and 3 for me were just brilliant. Whereas Jack Bauer...
Consistent?
What can I say? Consistent, loyal. You'll never ever turn him no matter what you dangle in front of his face. And he always gets the job done. Kind of like Joe Pesci.
He just seems like the kind of guy that would get the job done.
Yeah, and one thing that Joe Pesci and Kiefer Sutherland both have in common is they're unable to pronounce the word nuclear.
Ah.
They pronounce it nuclear, like
I
Bush.
hate that.
Question 9. We're on 9 questions already. What's your favourite film?
Again, I enjoy so many things. I hate to limit myself. I have a tattoo of several of my favorite movies.
Okay.
The Nightmare Before Christmas, because that was my favorite movie when I was a child.
Right.
I have The Bride of Frankenstein, because I always loved Frankenstein. Do you know the artist Coop?
Yeah.
Well, it's like his rendering of The Bride of Frankenstein, where she's like naked and she's holding jumper cables up to her nipple. Yeah, it's a pinup.
Right, okay.
But I do love Frankenstein. I have a separate tattoo that's just Frankenstein's face, which is also a Coop illustration, because I love him. Mm-hmm. So if you ask me what favorite artist is, that's an easy one.
Right, Coop.
And I also have a tattoo on the back of my leg that says Kill Bill. I know you guys were talking about Tarantino a little bit in the other one. I fucking love Kill Bill. I think it's amazing. It's epic. It's dark and detached in the best way. But my favorite movie of all time, which I sadly don't have a tattoo of, but I want, is actually the 1977 animated version of The Hobbit.
Yeah, we talked about this the other night.
It is my favorite movie of all time. I have loved it since I was a little child. I just got the pleasure of receiving it again and being able to watch it like 4 times in a row now as an adult, and it is just as awesome as I remember. Just as epic. It really, they squeeze it all into 2 hours. So there's no bullshit. It's just action nonstop. It's creepy. The animation is awesome. It looks like watercolor paintings. It's beautiful, and it's my favorite.
I've seen it once, and I've seen the Ralph Bakshi's adaptation of The Lord of the Rings twice, I think, which stops halfway through the bloody 2 towers, doesn't it? But no, I need to watch it again, because, like I say, we talked about this the other night. What did you think of The Unexpected Journey and The Desolation of Smaug, or Smaug, however it's pronounced?
Yeah, that bothers me, because I just want to call him Smaug.
Smaug, yeah.
I understand that, they had to, or not that they had to, but that they chose to stretch it out over 3 movies like the other ones, or maybe even fucking 4 movies. I don't even know. But, so they did take liberties, and they added in things and changed some things and added like romantic dynamics that weren't really necessary. But, all things considered, I think that they were really strong, and I liked the films. And of course we all have our little problems with them here and there, that whole shit that they made up, and like fucking what's Legolas doing here? Fuck off,
Toriel.
Nobody wants to see you guys. This isn't about you, okay? Stop making it about you.
Yeah.
There's certain things, because I love the animated movie so much too, and I know some of that was based off of like Tolkien's drawings and descriptions.
Yeah.
And I just wish that aesthetically it was a little bit more like that. The dwarves should be older. Thorin, they have him like, this man in his dwarf makeup is more attractive than he is out of his dwarf makeup.
I kind of call Thorin Aragorn Light.
Yeah, he really, and he's supposed to be an embittered old man. Like, he's not supposed to be like a brooding, handsome, like, fuck off. Aesthetically, too, like, the wood elves and that whole sequence, like, these are supposed to be terrifying creatures. They just make, here they are, but a couple of them are ginger. Like, that's not, they're supposed to be terrifying, like lanky, almost emaciated. They're supposed to be scary. They live in Mirkwood, like, they're terrifying. They deal with terrifying things on a daily basis. They're out of the sun. They live underground.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be so pretty. And of course all the liberties they're taking with the new storylines and with all the orcs instead of goblins and et cetera, so on. But
and the Keeley, Toriel, Legolas love triangle.
That's bullshit. But all things considered, it's still really strong. I still enjoyed watching it. I'm still a fan. I'm still very excited to see the next one. And I thought that what they did with the dragon was cool. I really liked him. Again, I wish he was a little bit more like in the animated one, he almost looks like an Asian style dragon. He almost looks like a cat.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. But I still really liked what they did with this. And of course, Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's amazing, and his voice is like creamy butter. And, and yeah, all in all, I appreciated it, and I thought they were good.
What's your most prized possession?
Probably my phone, because all my friends live in there.
And Twitter's there as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Facebook's there as well, but we won't go into that.
We won't go into that.
No. So your phone's your life?
I wouldn't go that far, but in terms of possessions, it's, I always have it with me. I always panic when I don't see it. And, I think that would be the first thing I looked for if, my work caught on fire and I had to evacuate my job. I would grab my phone and not care about the rest of the shit in my locker. So yeah,
right.
Most prized possession.
Okay, 11. I think I know what the answer to this is going to be. What's your favourite swear word and why?
It's cunt.
Yes, of course.
It's just so much fun, and you can really just, cunt is amazing and unique in that if you say the word cunt, you can immediately identify all the cunts because they get really offended.
Because we were talking about this, I think, we were talking about this, or I might have talked to Neil about it, but I know I discussed this with someone on the podcast, and it has a stigma over there that it doesn't have over here.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Over there, everybody's calling each other cunts, and it's a friendly thing.
Yeah.
Over here, if you call somebody a cunt, you really mean it.
Do you remember Being John Malkovich?
I love that movie.
Okay, do you remember the scene where Malkovich goes in with Catherine Keener to his agent, and he's about to tell him that he's giving up acting for puppetry?
Yeah.
His agents keep saying sorry about the cunt on reception. Now, to me, that I just didn't bat an eyelid, but when I went online to read the reviews, everybody was complaining about that word, and they all seem to be from America, so that's really the first time I became aware of the stigma that it kind of engenders in the American language. It's a shame, really, because it's quite a good word to enunciate when you're really mad.
Yeah, I think for everybody listening right now, just take a moment to say cunt out loud and just think about how good it feels. All right, here's your moment.
Say it again.
You got to just say it. Say it out loud.
Say it out loud. You got to do it. Even just if you're at work. I mean, I know this is a bit late now, and you've probably said it if you're at work, and you're probably going to get sacked for saying it out loud.
Worth it.
Well, probably, but I wouldn't want you to lose your livelihood. Where are my words going today? I just haven't got my teeth in today, unfortunately. Right, okay, so cunt is your favourite swear word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's one of mine as well. What is your favourite joke? Or what's the funniest joke you've ever heard?
Blonde, brunette, and redhead in an elevator. They see something in the corner. They're like, what? What is that? The redhead goes over, stoops down, examines it. She goes, that looks like cum. I think that's cum. The brunette goes over. No, it couldn't be. So she bends down. She's scratching at it. She's sniffing it. Yeah, that's definitely cum. The blonde goes over. She sticks her finger in it, tastes it. Nobody from this building.
I like that one.
It's good, right?
That's a good one, yeah.
You're going to need a moment to recover. Yeah.
That's tickled me up, that one. Hang on, you want a blonde joke? Here's a blonde joke that may not have made it across the pond, okay? Blonde goes into a hairdresser wearing a pair of earphones and an iPod. She says to the hairdresser, she said, I'd like you to cut my hair, but I'd like you to cut around the earphones. Don't disturb the earphones whatsoever. So the barber goes, the hairdresser says, okay, so he starts cutting her hair, but the wires and the actual headphones themselves are getting in the way. So he says to her, I'm just going to take these earphones off. So he takes them off, puts them on the table, turns around, and she's lying on the floor dead. And he's like, my goodness me, what happened? And he picks up the earphones, he puts them over his ears, and he hears, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe
That's
out.
perfect. I didn't know where that one was going. That's good.
Okay, number 14. What fictional scientific discovery would you like to see in your lifetime?
I think maybe just like a warp drive. Like let's go places faster,
I'm going to use a Star Trek quote on this because John last week said more or less the same thing. Some sort of warp drive. But I don't think he said, that would be kind of down the list. But he said he wanted to see that happen. But Earth is so beautiful, where would we possibly want to go that would take us away from here?
I think the point that maybe both of you are missing that I'm thinking when I think of things like that is it doesn't matter how lovely the Earth is, eventually it's not going to be habitable. And it might not be right now, but the faster we can get this technology on board, the faster we have more options to not die out as a race, as a species. Because, I'm thinking long term too. I'm not thinking like short term nuclear war, although of course that's sadly an option.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, the moon keeps pulling away, it goes too far, it throws off the axis, and we all go spinning in crazy directions, and there's crazy superstorms.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, eventually when the sun turns into a red giant and engulfs us all, these things are inevitabilities.
Yeah.
So let's get working on this shit now so that we don't die out.
I think they already are working on it. Whether the possibility of warp drive is, certainly warp 10 is not possible. But warp drive is a theory.
Yeah, well, we can't, unfortunately, in terms of regular speed, we can't go as fast as the speed of light or faster than the speed of light. But, there are things that they think they can work around with all the wormholes and black holes and whatnot and shit. So let's get working on that shit, guys. Let's go.
If the Earth was consumed by an ice age, let's say global warming got to, absolutely epidemic, well, nightmare proportions, so to speak, and the Earth ended up with another ice age, I think the Earth would repair itself. The Earth is a living, breathing body, I think, just as much as we are. And I think that it has the ability to heal itself. It just needs the time and its own resources to do it.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen with us here.
No, that's the thing.
So, let's be real,
Yeah, I see both sides, and you make a very, very good point. If we were to discover warp drive now, yes, we could answer quite a few questions. We could look for other planets that are habitable. We could search for other life forms. We could basically become Starfleet. We could, become the Federation of Planets.
Let's do it.
I could think of worse futures. Okay, right, this is a good one for you, because I know, like me, you're a voracious reader. What's the best book you've ever read, and why did you love it so much?
Obviously, I love The Hobbit, so it's going to be in the top there, but I think outside of, the fantasy genre, or the epic fantasy genre, my favorite book is probably Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk.
Right.
I don't know if you've read that, but he's the guy that did Fight Club and
yeah, I've read
yeah.
Fight Club. I've not read Lullaby yet.
Yeah, he did Choke and stuff too. Which, by the way, I love Sam Rockwell, but unfortunately, Choke the movie was a disappointment.
Yeah, I heard pretty bad things about it. That's why I've not seen it.
Yeah, and on its own, it's not that bad. It's just kind of bizarre. But when you take the book into account, it's one of those. I'm going to be one of those elitist people where I'm like, oh, the book was better. Fight Club, though, is one of the rare exceptions where the movie is actually better than the book. And I don't care what people think of me for saying that, but the movie's fucking amazing. But Lullaby is just, it's so bizarre and it's so dark and it's just really great. And there's this great moral dilemma that the main character has because he discovers, basically a way to kill people with his mind. And it's he kills his boss and other people just for pissing him off. And but then he has all these great moral dilemmas who do I kill and who do I not kill? And it's just fascinating watching him work that out too. So I really like that.
Yeah. Gonna have to read that now on your say-so.
Yeah, it's great.
Because I like his writing style. Like I say, Red Fight Club, really, really like that. I don't know about you, but I don't know why they didn't recreate the actual scene from the book when Tyler meets the narrator. Because I think that is just they could certainly have recreated it, but why have them meet on the plane instead of finding Tyler sat in the shadow equivalent of the palm of a hand?
Yeah, I don't know, but the movie itself was so strong and the acting was so strong. I love Edward Norton. He's one of my favorite actors.
Oh, he's great.
I mean, in my opinion, do what you like with it, because I think you did a great job,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it works, though. The rest of it is so real and gritty, and so I think it really fits with that.
Yeah, plus Meatloaf's rather large breasts.
Well, his name was Robert Paulson.
His name was Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paul... No, we're not going to do that for the rest of the podcast, don't worry. Okay, where in the world would you like to visit, and what would you do when you get there?
I would like to go to the UK to visit all of my friends.
That sounds good enough to me. Don't just come to London, because everybody just comes to London. There's so many beautiful, great towns and cities in the UK.
No, I want to go to Cardiff, too. One of my favorite tattoo artists lives there, and I would love to get a tattoo from him. Chris Jones. Look him up. He's crazy good.
I've heard of him, actually. I've heard of Chris Jones. I've not seen any of his work, but I do.
It is photorealistic. It is insane. I've never seen work that good.
Plus, you just want to go and see the Doctor Who stuff, don't you?
Oh, well, of course, naturally.
Have you seen Capaldi's costume? It's online.
I did. I saw it.
I don't know. To me, it evokes John Pertwee a little bit.
Yep.
And I'm just about old enough to remember Pertwee's run.
He was great. I really liked him, actually. He's one of my top 5.
Yeah.
So
he was good.
And I think he's a great actor, and he's just adorable with his speech impediment and his, like, snake tattoo on his arm. He's so cute.
Yeah, he was great. Okay. What things make you smile, or what things make you laugh?
What things make me laugh? Hilarious hypotheticals. I know that sounds ridiculous. But me and my husband even, and like some of my friends, we literally sit around and come up with ridiculous scenarios and laugh about it for hours because we're children. You know, like, oh, you see that lady? Like, what if like a dinosaur came down right now and bit her head off? Like, that's a terrible example, but you know what I mean? Like, just coming up with funny ideas, I think in and of itself, just being creative and silly with friends is great. And my children are hysterical, and they always make me, well, not always, but they can make me smile pretty easily.
Okay, there's this special question I've written just for you, okay? Because I know that you'll probably have an answer to it. What's the naughtiest thing you've ever done in your life?
Oh, this is a good one.
Like I said, one you'll be able to answer.
Oh boy. When I was 18, I started dating a 16-year-old boy, which, you know, my previous, like, boyfriend was, like, 4 or 5 years older than me, so I don't know why dating somebody 2 years younger than me was, like, this big, taboo thing. But anyway, my friends all teased me, called me, like, a, you know, cradle robber and whatnot. Which, you know, he was in high school, and even though I was only 18, I did have, like, my own apartment and my own car and stuff, so I can see where it might have been a little creepy. But anyway, so I had the 16-year-old boyfriend, and he had a friend that was very cute, who was also 16, and I convinced them to have a 3-way with me.
Wow.
And that's not even the naughty part. I mean, it is, but, so I convinced them to have a 3-way with me, and then we couldn't, like, find a good place to do it, because, like, everybody was around, like, at my apartment, and it was, like, really awkward, and I knew they would never let me live it down. And, like, they both live with their parents, because they're 16.
Yeah.
So I borrowed my friend's big white child molester van.
Oh.
And I went, and I made sweet love to 2 16-year-old boys in a big white van, in a 3-way that was a little bit gay, and one of them, not the one that I was dating, but the other one, was a virgin and a Mormon.
The pictures I'm getting in my head at the moment.
And after that night, I don't think he was a virgin or a Mormon anymore.
No. I bet he probably couldn't walk for about 2 weeks.
So, that was interesting.
Oh, God, no, I can't even picture it. I'm not even sure I want to picture it. Did this guy, this Mormon dude, did he have, like, shaved head or something, and wear a tie and ride a bike and...
No. He looked pretty normal, but the rest of his family is kind of like a weird mess too. But he was like the most normal one. But he was cute. And the worst part was, like, years later in one of my jobs, like, his whole family used to, like, come in for pictures, and I would have to, like, be there while his whole family was getting photographed and just kind of awkwardly, like, wave to him like, hey, remember that time? let's not talk about it.
I have a question, right? With him being a Mormon, he was probably wearing a pair of magic underpants. Did those magic underpants have bab stains in them?
I don't remember magic underpants because it was dark and I think I was focused on other things at the moment of the underpants unveiling.
Right.
So, unfortunately, I didn't really catch that.
You see, we have Mormons going, as I know you guys do in America, we have Mormons going door to door here, and I actually have a thing on my door saying no religious canvassers, no salesmen, blah, 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 but I might actually take that down or rewrite it and say, no salesmen, no peddlers, whatever. Religious people are welcome to knock, but you'll lose.
Right.
And I really want a Mormon to knock on my door because I want to ask him if he actually believes in the magic underpants story.
The magic underpants are pretty good.
Yeah. So I might just ask him that. Okay, this is the final question. What would you have on your gravestone?
To be continued.
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Like, just think about it. Like, not because I necessarily think I'm going to be continued, but imagine walking through a cemetery and it just says to be continued.
Have you ever heard of Spike Milligan?
No.
Right. Spike Milligan was a founding member of a comedy troupe called The Goons. Python were very influenced by The Goons. Spike Milligan lived to a ripe old age. He died probably about 10 years ago, but he was like in his 80s, I think. And he had on his gravestone, "I told you I was ill."
Oh, that's sad, but also amazing.
If you ever watch Monty Python's Life of Brian, which I know you have and I know you love.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Do you remember the scene when they'd been talking about the shoe and the sandal and the gourd and the crowd come away and you're left with this old guy saying, "Let us pray," and there's no one around him and he walks off?
Yeah, that's him.
That's Spike Milligan.
All right. Now I have a face.
He actually is one of the funniest people that ever drew breath. If you've never listened to any Spike Milligan stuff, he is just up your street. In fact, I will send you a Spike Milligan video on YouTube that I think you will love. It's hilarious.
Please do.
Yeah, it's so funny. But no, you'll love Spike. If you love British humour. I know you love British humour.
Yes.
You'll love Spike. Do you like Peter Sellers?
Yes.
Right, Peter Sellers was in The Goons with Spike Milligan.
Really?
Yes.
That is interesting. My husband is actually a huge Peter Sellers fan.
Now, you see, for the listeners, Crystal and I first got close. It was actually the Boston bombing that brought us together, wasn't it? The Boston Marathon that really...
Yeah, we really started talking a lot after that.
Kind of bonded after that and became good friends, so... that's...
basically, the whole manhunt and everything was happening right where I live. Like, the place that they found him in the boat outside somebody's backyard is, like, less than a mile from my house. Like, they had our entire city shut down. I could stand outside my house and look down the street and I saw huge, like, Hummers filled with people with guns going down the street. It was very scary.
Mm. And I remember that night, there was a lot of us glued to Twitter, and we were glued to the police scanners as well. We downloaded police scanners to see how the search was going. Must have been a scary time.
It wasn't scary so much in that I thought necessarily that, like, he was going to show up at my house or whatever, but
no,
it was just scary. And
yeah,
you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if this guy's going to get away. There's people, like I said, in basically tanks going down my street with, like, automatic weapons and helicopters flying overhead, and you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, does this guy have any other, like, explosives on him, whatever. Like, I'm just half expecting to see, like, a big cloud of smoke go up and be like, oh, by the way, half of your friends are dead. Like, it's just, you don't know what's going to happen, and that's, I think, the scariest part, is just not having any control over what's happening, and also a little bit Big Brother with the government and how quick and efficient they were able, like, efficiently they were able to shut everything down and get everybody off the street and declare all these emergencies and close all the shops, and just, it was a little scary. The amount of control they exerted that quickly was almost more terrifying than the actual guy that they were hunting.
Did you have, like, military vehicles or police cars that were going past with loudspeakers saying "Stay in your homes, don't"? Was anything like that going on?
Yeah, basically. And they were telling you, like, you shouldn't leave your house, and we were afraid to go anywhere more so because of, like, the police than...
I remember, yeah.
Because, you know, they're on edge, too. They're expecting, like, explosives and people. People have been shot by police for less, so...
The stereotype of the typical American policeman or police person, certainly from the UK point of view, is that they shoot first and ask questions later. Is that really the case? Sadly,
a lot of the times it is. I mean, obviously there's some great people on the police force that, you know, are really just trying to do great service to society. But unfortunately, you know, that kind of job mostly just attracts people who want to have power over other people. And those are usually unsavory characters.
Mm. It's funny because I was listening on the way home from work today, I was listening to Killing in the Name.
I just listened to that yesterday.
And that says everything we need to know. Game of Thrones we were going to talk about, because I'm actually opening this show with a version of The Rains of Castamere that you may not have heard. So when you listen to the podcast, you'll hear it. I'm excited. Yes. Season 3 ended quite well, exactly as expected it to.
I don't know if well... I mean, it depends on whose perspective you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm going to try not to put any spoilers, because I actually know what's going to happen, because I'm like halfway through A Dance with Dragons, which is the last book, so I kind of know.
I haven't read ahead, so.
Right. Where are you?
To me. I am trying desperately to get to the books because my brother has them and he's been promising to lend them to me. And hasn't, Michael. So I'm only caught up as far as the show goes.
Oh, you'll love the books. The books are very, very... You will end up, if you've seen the series before you actually read the books, you will end up seeing the characters as they are in the series. But it won't take away from the enjoyment. I mean, certainly the first book.
I love Peter Dinklage, so I'm not disappointed by having him dancing in my head with his adorable little face.
Mm. The speech that he gives to Jon Snow in season 1, one of the earlier episodes, where he says, you're a bastard, wear it like a badge of pride. That's straight from the book.
Yeah. That's good.
Thieves, bastards, and crooked things, I think he says something about. A lot of interesting things are going to happen this season. Did you see the trailer?
No.
For it? Okay, it's on YouTube. Go and have a look at the trailer. It's like a minute long. Some very, very... How could I put it? Some very interesting things happen to Tyrion in this next season. You will see exactly what I mean when you watch it. I think... yeah. I'm not saying they're all good. I'm just saying that some very interesting things happen to him.
I'm wringing my hands over here.
Yeah.
I would have his tiny babies.
I think Peter Dinklage is one of the best things about Game of Thrones. He just totally owns that character.
He owns any character that he does. He's a fantastic actor.
I must admit, I've not really seen much of Peter Dinklage's other work. I'm more familiar with Warwick Davis.
Well, everybody loves Warwick Davis, but yeah, Peter Dinklage, he was Death at a Funeral. He was amazing. Like Elf, he was amazing in Elf. He was
Elf, yeah.
Oh my god, he was so funny. Call Me Elf one more time. He just leaps across the table. The Station Agent was like kind of a weird like indie film, but he was really good in that too. So he's just fantastic in anything that he's in. He was in like one of the Chronicles of Narnia movies too.
Now, what did you think of Branagh Frankenstein?
Is that the one with Robert De Niro?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't even. I don't remember because it's been so long since I've seen it. I don't remember it being a bad movie, but I really love the classic ones. But my husband does really good impressions, and he does a really good Robert De Niro, and he always walks around doing his Robert De Niro impression with the squinty eyes and everything going, "You Frankenstein? You know Frankenstein." Like, and it's hysterical. And he walks around doing that, and I just
You're
can't.
the only monster here.
Yeah, oh my god, he's so funny.
That was another thing I wanted to ask you. Right, in fact, I'm going to incorporate this into the show. I've had a thought about this. Give us your best impression.
Oh god. Oh no.
Everybody can do an impression of somebody. Give us your best impression.
I can do Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Go for it. That's pretty good.
Yeah. No, he's so cute. No, seriously, you have to have Chris on. He does so many it's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. He, do you Snapchat? Do you know what Snapchat is?
I know what it is, I haven't got it.
Yeah, so basically it's an app where you just send people like pictures or videos, and then after you're done looking at it, then it's gone forever. In quotes, air quote, gone forever. But he sent me a series of Snapchats of him doing Christopher Walken, but doing like foreigner songs. So he's like, "Baby, you're as cold as ice." It's just, but everyone was like him doing Christopher Walken with a different foreigner song for like an hour. I didn't even know Foreigner had that many hits. It was hysterical.
That's one impression I've always wanted to be able to do, and that's Christopher Walken.
He's so good at it. He does Christopher Walken, like Shaggy and Scooby. He does the Robert De Niro is amazing, but you really need a visual for that one because he does the face too.
Tell Chris he's a bugger from me because he can do Walken and
he's so good. And he does a really good Neil Diamond, and he goes to karaoke sometimes and does a Neil Diamond song in the Neil Diamond voice. Oh my god, it's so good. Great. I can't even.
I tell you something, jazz singer is one of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah?
I love it. I love the jazz singer. And I don't mind admitting this on my Smegcast. Yes, I know it's sad, but I can't help it. I grew up watching the jazz singer. What can I say?
I think we all forgive you. We all have guilty pleasure. My guilty pleasure is the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, you want it that way, do you?
Uh-huh. I think that's another segment you should do. Guilty pleasures.
Guilty pleasures, yeah.
Guilty pleasures, Backstreet Boys, don't even care. I know it's ridiculous. I know they're terrible and like pop music is the devil and that it's not even good and they don't write any of the songs and most of the lyrics are embarrassing. But god damn it, does it make me move. Guilty pleasures are fun. Guilty pleasures are amazing. Actually I saw at Fenway Park like 2 years ago, I saw the Backstreet Boys with New Kids on the Block. But it was before Kevin came back to the Backstreet Boys, so it just didn't feel complete.
You've just reminded me, one of the things I love about your country is Weird Al Yankovic.
I love Weird Al.
I love Weird Al.
I love Weird Al. You want to hear a funny Weird Al story?
Yeah. I'm always up for a funny Weird Al story.
One time when me and Chris were we were still freshly dating, and we had never smoked together, and I was like, "Oh, let's smoke some weed, and it'll be fun." And he apparently hadn't done it in a while, so it was not fun for him.
Oh my goodness, he took a whitey.
It was tears before bedtime.
Right.
So we decided to watch Lady in the Water because it's totally bizarre movie that I thought would be appropriate for that time. And we lived right by Burger King, so we got a whole bunch of nasty fast food and sat in front of a weird movie. And I look over at him and he's just staring at his cheeseburger. And I'm watching the movie. I look back at him. He's just staring at his cheeseburger for 25 minutes. And I'm like, what's going on with you? And he's like, I can't. And he just slowly puts the cheeseburger down. And I was like, oh no.
Oh yeah.
So I walked him into the other room. I laid him down. I put a blanket on him. I'm just completely mothering him.
Yeah.
And, and I go, you know what you need right now? You need some Weird Al. So I put on Weird Al, and it was the album, that looks like the Nirvana. It looks like Nevermind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has the Nirvana song on it. Of course, I have that album right up at the top. So I'm like, I'm gonna put this one on for you. Trust me, this will be amazing. And I put it on, and his mood just like completely, you know, because like you're like, oh my god, I'm too high to handle anything. But then it's Weird Al.
Yeah.
You know? So,
and you immediately adapt.
Completely redeemed. But then there was one song, like one of his like polkas or something that just wasn't very good, like in the middle of the album, or maybe like 3 songs in. And so we're laughing hysterically because we're fucking high as balls. And then we're both just like crickets. You could hear crickets, and we're just like, wow, like, you know, this song is bad when 2 highest people on the planet right now just stopped laughing. But anyway, the rest of it is amazing. I love Weird Al. I have nothing but love for Weird Al.
Let's wrap this up. Anybody you'd like to say hello to on Twitter, or anybody out there, fellow Red Dwarf fans you'd like to say hello to?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Mom. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I've been talking a lot about my husband, so, you know, he deserves a little recognition. He's pretty funny. Everybody that knows us says that we're the same person. So I think that you would have a lot of fun having him on the show too. But, you know, half of the things that I come out with that are funny, and half of the cool things I know about are things that he showed me and kind of directed me towards. So I got to give him a lot of credit. But that's not to say, and I'm flipping my hair right now as we speak, that's not to say that I'm not fabulous on my own. But he's great. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So anybody else you want to say hello to, or hey, or anything else you'd like to plug?
Plug? Oh.
Yeah. Websites, blogs. You got your own blog.
Yeah, I haven't written in it forever. I'll bring it back up, and then you can post about it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll revive it. I'll give it
I
mean, you know, I mentioned a couple of atheists that I like, so if you guys haven't checked them out yet, you should. And that's basically it.
Okay. Well, you have been an absolutely stellar guest, Crystal. Thank you for your time. I'm sure everybody on the Smegcast is going to enjoy listening to what what we've talked about today. It's been a pleasure having you. In the Skype sense, having you, if you like, you know.
Wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, it's been great speaking to you again on here, and thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, you take care, and I will speak to you soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Bye.